Hi everyone, welcome to PSC Collegiate English. Today I am here with yet another episode of Major and Minor Cultural Theorist. First of all, let us look at Jean Baudrillard. Baudrillard's key themes is the idea that Marxist distinction between use value and exchange value has collapsed in favor of exchange of signs. Thus, a commodity is not simply an object with use value for exchange, but a commodity sign. For Bodrillard, postmodern culture is constituted through a continual flow of images that establishes no connotational hierarchy but is one-dimensional and superficial. Baudrillard argues that a series of modern distinctions, including the real and unreal, the public and private, art and reality, have broken down into black hole, leading to a culture of simulacrum and hyperreality. We all know that Jean Baudrillard is associated with simulacrum and hyperreality. We all know that Baudrillard is a postmodernist postmodern theorist, and he speaks about the importance of images or the signs that are sent to the readers and audience. Now, he says that the use value and exchange value has collapsed in the favor of exchange of signs. Use value or exchange value is not there. They have become merely signs. And some signs have, are so superficial so that no connotational meaning, we all know the denotative meaning and connotative meaning, so no connotative meaning can be understood. So we have to go into detail if we are to look into simulacra, also hyperreality. Let us that we will do in some other video. This time just let's understand that Jean Baudrillard, who is famous for simulacrum and hyperreality, is also considered a cultural theorist. His famous works are The System of Objects, The Mirror of Production, Simulacra and Simulation. The Gulf War did not take place. His concepts are very clearly explained through this last book, that is, The Gulf War did not take place. He says that the entire story was built up using certain images of war being taking place, but then the actual war didn't take place. Now that is the same example that we could give to any literary product using simulacra, also hyperreality, that everything is so very manipulated that reality is something different, or reality sometimes does not exist. Hyperreality is going above reality. So this is what this possibility of postmodernism is opened by Jean Baudrillard. Coming to the next cultural theorist, Tony Bennett. Bennett was a member of Birmingham Centre for Contemporary Cultural Studies, CCCS, where he helped to develop and promote the influence of Gramsci within the field, particularly in relation to television and popular culture. Subsequently, Bennett has been crucial of Gramscian stream of cultural studies as overemphasizing signification and consciousness at the expense of pragmatic consideration of cultural policy. Here, he draws upon the works of Foucault and his concept of governmentality. As director of Australian Key Centre for Cultural and Media Policy at Griffith University, Bennett played a significant part in promoting cultural policy as goal for cultural studies. Here, his part, Tony Bennett is a minor cultural theorist, and his contribution is he's trying to we all know that even politics is a part of cultural studies, political culture that we examine in the stream of cultural studies. So this is what Bennett gave importance to. He tried to promote the cultural policies of government. Now this he did using Foucault's idea of governmentality. We all know the panopticon style. Foucault, when we speak of Foucault, we all know about the panopticon style of governmentality and so many things. So he's trying to bring or merge Foucault's ideas along with cultural policy. His works are Museums, Power, Knowledge, from selected essays. Second one is Making Culture, Changing Society, which was published in 2013. Moving on to the next cultural theorist. The next person is Homi K Bhabha. He is a post-colonial theorist. Homi K Bhabha strongly influenced by post-structuralism of Derrida, Lacan, Foucault. Bhabha argues against the tendency to essentialize third world countries into a homogeneous identity, claiming instead that all sense of nationhood is narrativized. He also suggests that there is always ambivalence at the site of colonial dominance, so that the colonizer and the colonized help to constitute each other. For Bhabha, the instability of meaning in language leads us to think of culture, identities and identification as always a place of border and hybridity rather than a fixed, stable entity, a view encapsulated in his use of concepts such as mimicry, interstice, hybridity, liminality. Homi K Bhabha as I told you, he is a post-colonial theorist. He speaks about hybridity, mimicry. In all the things, he compares and contrasts how colonized people felt, how colonizers felt, or he always said that in order to create a perspective, both colonizer create a perspective about the colonized, vice versa. So this is what he says. Even culture, there is a certain culture of the colonized people, there are certain culture of the colonized and colonizers. So that culture is being exchanged when a country is being colonized. So his concepts mimicry, interstice, hybridity and liminality can be analyzed from the cultural studies point of view. Some of his important works are Nation and Narration, The Location of Culture, Making Difference, The Legacy of Culture Wars. Some of his famous articles are Post-Colonial Authority and Postmodern Guilt, Beyond the Pale, Art in the Age of Multicultural Translation, Frontline or Border Post, Displacement, Cultural Identities in Question. Coming to the next cultural theorist, Pierre Bodhia. He is perhaps best known for his argument that cultural tastes are social construct located in the context of class-oriented habitus. Some of his famous work are La Distinction. In English, it is known as just The Distinction. Moving on to the next person, Judith Butler. We all know Judith Butler is associated with gender studies, feminism. A US-born philosopher and feminist thinker, Butler has established herself as one of the foremost writers about sex or gender, subjectivity and identity. Her originality lies in the way that post-structuralism of Michel Foucault and Jacques Derrida is combined with psychoanalysis and speech act theory to generate a theory of sex as performative. We all know that Judith Butler speaks about sex as a performance. She distinguishes between what is performative and how gender, that is being viewed by the society. So some of even Judith Butler as a person who's known in the gender studies and also feminism also comes under the umbrella term of cultural studies. Some of her works are Subjects of Desire, Hegelian Reflections in 20th Century France. The second is Gender Trouble, very famous, Feminism and Subversion of Identity. Third is Bodies That Matter, on the Discursive Limits of Sex. So with this, the part 2 discussion comes to an end. If you find this study useful, please do comment in the comment box. I would come with many more cultural theorists, and as I told you in the previous video, culture studies is the trend of researchers. So many researchers are doing their work in cultural studies. There are ample opportunities even in foreign universities to pursue research once you're selecting this term of cultural studies. Nowadays, cultural studies has become important even in the government matters, even in the politics, or as literature students, you would get more exposure to outside world once you are familiar with culture studies. So that is it for now. Thank you so much.